for the next 3 weeks of Shonen Jump, we're supposed to be getting 3 new series. From what I've understood, just given information on it, little peeks at each of them, 2 of them are going to be battle series, and 1 of them is going to be a gag one. I think the one next week is going to be a gag one. It's supposed to be like I think it's supposed to just be like big muscly meatheads in like a Harry Potter world. It's kind of like if you had a whole crew of Astas and Black Clover, but more of a silly version. Anyway, the first one, Undead Unluck. I gotta say, so out of all of the 3 of them, I was most excited for The Witch's Guardian, and it is done by one of Tabata's former assistants, Tabata being the monk of Black Clover, and I wasn't 100% sure of Undead Unluck. It looked interesting, but there was no real premise that I got. I just kind of got that it was going to have... I understood probably a battle shonen based off the pictures, but not 100%. The series itself already starts out very strange. It's very weird from, right out of the gate, and I loved that about it. I really loved the first chapter of this series. If you're not sure whether or not, it's like, do I want to spend my time? I almost said waste my time reading it, but no, this is absolutely no waste. Just getting to the point of that. It is very fun. The chapter starts out very, very odd. You have the main character. Well, it looks like there's going to be a joint main character kind of spot. You got the female lead, you got the male lead, but let's just go with the female lead for right now. I can't really 100% tell because unlike a lot of them, the title Undead Unluck, it has to do with both of them, both of their abilities. But the first one we see is this girl, Izumo. She's reading some, romance manga, and she's standing on the end of a bridge. Well, she's on the side of a bridge, rather, waiting for a train to come by, and she's gonna jump off and kill herself. And, the whole thing, she's got, a kitchen knife, and she's saying, anybody that comes close to her, she's pretty much just gonna stab, because she has this ability that if anybody makes contact with her skin, she says it's like a disease they'll get, but it's actually like this, it's revealed that she has pretty much this unlucky nature about her, and you'll catch this streak of bad luck if you make contact with her body. And when the first guy that shows up, you got this dude, he's shirtless, and he's got this tattoo. He's got dead end on his left arm. He's got this number on his chest. I'm guessing maybe that's the year he was born. I think it's 1865. Maybe that was the year that he was born, or an inmate number, or some form of just some form of designation number. Maybe it was an experiment at one point. Who knows how old he is? Yeah, I think later in the chapter he says that he's more than 100. It might be hundreds. I'll check as I'm going through this, because I like to cycle through looking at pages to remind myself of certain aspects as I'm reviewing it, especially for the first time. But he ends up touching her, and the unluck ability takes effect. The area that he was standing on the bridge just breaks off, and he falls down and gets splattered by the train. It looks like he dies, and the train stops. You got people checking out the train, and there's not even a blood splatter. The dent is there, but there's nothing that would show that a person was just hit by a damn train. And when this girl Izumo's looking at it, I'm surprised no one's following her. The fact she was gonna kill herself, but she sees the head of this dude, later given a name. This, as if you haven't seen it yet, he doesn't remember his name, but she gives him a name. She calls him Andy, just because in Japanese undead, she's Andy. First kind of little part of it, just adding the Y on the end of it. But you just see his head, and his head just pops up, and he starts to regenerate. He's got his body back, and something that's actually really funny is when you get a lot of the time in manga and anime, when you get full nudity in characters, you'll get it's not shown, there's something blocking it, or the cuts part of where the panel is, or the scene will just enough to show it. But he's got just a standard old-fashioned black bar over his junk, as you see, the old-fashioned censor bar. And they actually really emphasize in this series that he's hung. This dude is, he's a jacked meathead with a big dong, and that's very apparent. And he's got crazy ways that he displays his ability, he's standing literally on the pavement naked with his bloody stumps of legs there. And when they regenerate at such a speed that it pretty much rocket propels him into the air, and he's able to jump from building to building. He's literally using the force and speed of regeneration for his movement. I imagine on top of other things, because his thing is he's undead, And because of that, I imagine that he's able to use the full extent of his body, kind of like, you know, through like adrenaline, we could fully access like the 100% of like our muscles and stuff, but like that full extent is actually really dangerous. It can like destroy parts of your body. But obviously, as an undead, you don't have to stand by that same limiter, but also the fact he can regenerate, you know, the muscles, even if they broke, they'll just fix themselves. So, as it is, like, he seems pretty crazy. He's just like trying to talk to this girl, and like from what it's understood, like he wants to use his power in order to die. He wants like a true death, as he says, and from that, he's like messing with her, and she doesn't seem to want to cooperate, but he like grabs her and just by the legs and swings her around. Still naked while he does it. Still got dong swinging around. You get like a little flashback, the first kind of bits explaining like her power and like that kind of manifested when her parents went on a trip. And she gave him a hug. It was just like hoping that they had a good trip and was excited to see them. Well, anxious to see them come back. 10 minutes later, the plane had an engine failure, crashed, and everybody on it died. Like almost 300 people all died on there. And since then, her power, anytime she touches anybody, takes place and causes them horrible, horrible luck, seemingly straight to death. As you know, as just touching her face had part of that bridge fall off. Later, he just straight grabs her chest. You know, gets a big hand feel of hey, she's got some pretty thick stacked titties, so it's understandable. Both of them are actually emphasized on full stack. But at that point, like a crate of bananas falls from out of a plane, smashes him, and he gets up eating the banana. He's a meathead, so you know, eating the banana is very much in that. I laughed because as soon as I saw like this dude is a meathead, I knew, you know, a friend of mine, a certain buzzsaw, was going to be enjoying this, and then the banana part just added extra emphasis on it. But funny enough, like he's very skilled with his power. Like she ends up getting knocked over the edge, like when the crate slams down and she kind of freaks out. She goes and literally slips on a banana peel, falls off the edge of this building. And you have this dude Andy jump off. Ends up using the regeneration of his power to just straight like make the bone and then slam it into the side of the building to like pretty much scrape down the entire side, slow the fall down, and save her life. So again, I like that whole like already kind of like synergy between them. You know, he's gonna have the ability to pretty much take the brunt force of her bad luck. Any of these like kills, it's obviously not going to kill him. I'm sure his power will have some form of limitations. There's a little bit at the end, but any way to kind of like finally give her a friend to kind of be close to, because you know, if you have this power that any form of contact with somebody is going to kill them, you're probably not going to get close to relatively anybody. But now she's got somebody, and he's got a very odd personality that seems to kind of really contrast with her very, very kind of like shy and nervous nature. So you have that really nice kind of like contrast between them. But already I really like both of them. I think they're both pretty fun. And like this poor girl, she just really wanted to have like a kind of like a storybook life. She really just wanted to, you know, fall in love and have a very, very feminine, like old-fashioned kind of like 1940s kind of like housewife life. Just have that romance. But obviously, if you kill somebody upon contact with them, then life isn't going to go too well for them. Then go to some like old building and start testing out her power. He like goes on like range limitations for it, like how long he holds and like touches her, like the amount of time that how it affects. Like he holds it for 10 seconds. Walks away, and then this slammed by a chunk of this building crushes him. And then they kind of like start to really figure out the extent of like where it'll go. And he's just messing with her. Like obviously she's not used to physical contact. She's obviously like built up a means of not wanting people to touch her for both their sake and her sake. But he's like chasing her around, and she ends up getting like her coat like caught on like this piece of this is rhubarb? I think rhubarb wire. I don't remember it is. You know, that part that goes into concrete, that big metal pole piece. I don't remember. But it like ends up taking off her coat and her hat. And she's got like this really long hair. And she gets embarrassed by it because she wears the hat and keeps her hair all folded up because she can't go to a salon or a barber to get her hair cut. Because obviously if they touch her, then they're going to die. Which I thought that was a really little cute way to like give a little display of her character as well. It shows that she's she's a little self-conscious about it because she clearly likes her hair shorter, but she can't get it cut short because she doesn't want to risk, a barber dying, which is really nice. And now the first thing you're getting from these two characters, really, in the first chapter interaction, is he cuts her hair and he's able to, be close to her while she does it. It seems that the effect of the unluck happens between touching and then non-touching. Like, as long as you're making that contact, doesn't stop, or it might be getting a certain distance away from her that it is. Like, I don't imagine it's like you touch her and then you take your finger away and then touch her again. It seems to have both time and range involved in it. He ends up cutting her hair. She seems a little bit happy about it, which is nice. I like that part. He says, like, he's been touching her for 15 minutes. And then, like, they're like, all right, let's see what happens. Like, the dude's head gets cut off. You got this swordsman guy who's, like, displaying the bad guy. He's displaying the bad guy, and giving a little bit about this, where they're going. He says that this container, it's made of something special. We don't know yet, but it's going to prevent his regeneration. So there is means of being able to counteract the fact that he's seemingly super immortal, like high levels of regeneration. The fact that he can just instantly grow body parts back, like seconds after it. So as that is, now there is clearly a means to oppose him, which is cool. And this bad guy group, they're talking about, they're saying like they're looking for unselected negators, and then I don't know if they're saying umas like it's a word or if it's supposed to be umas, and there's no periods in between it, so I'm guessing umas or umas is a word. Negators makes me think kind of like how she's unlucky, he's undead. It's some form of reverse. Maybe they're gonna have something, I can't think of anything else off the top of my head, like an something that would kind of like work into like a power, because this obviously is a battle shonen, and how it's gonna exactly kind of pan out, we're not entirely sure. But now, this guy, he's like, because he's not making physical contact. It's noted that if you touch her through clothing, then it doesn't work that way. He's got gloves on, so he's just fine making contact with her, and he's like getting ready. He's like, they're gonna pretty much turn her into a weapon and just use her power in order to I don't know. I guess we can't really say because we don't know what their bad guy motives are. We don't know the group yet, but we do know that they seemingly want to find all these people and use them as weapons. And she seems really sad. She kind of uses that, the whole fact that he just cut her hair, and then saying how she feels bad that he was fine touching her without any fear, no hesitation, no seemingly regret. And somebody like her, who she just seems like she seems like have the dreams of just being like a happy girl. She doesn't have like any crazy like aspirations. She just wants to have a normal and happy life. She just wants to enjoy herself. And she's not able to have that. She finally found somebody that was able to, and somebody that was able to, be close to her and be in contact without, having that fear. And she's like saying, oh, he didn't have to cut her hair, but she's grateful, but at the same time, she's sorry to him. Because in her mind, and the way it seemed, it's like, oh, well, this dude cut Andy's head off because of the unlucky portion that was put on him. But when you think about it, which, made sense, is the unluckiness that wouldn't probably have anything to do with, like, another person's actions. It's luck. Maybe timing, but, it doesn't mean anything for a character's actions when the guy was going to do that anyway. And then just right then, a lightning bolt just comes down, strikes the hell out of, poor unnamed lackey number 1 that was holding on to Andy's, the ball that's containing Andy, falls over the edge, it breaks, and Andy regenerates, jumps up, and he grabs like I wonder what it is. It looks just like a piece of sheet metal that's in his brain. And he's essentially saying how, because he says 100 years. So I'm guessing the number on his chest, 1865, is like the year he was born, or maybe the year his powers took place. Because if it's something around then, maybe like, 1840 or 1845, or if it is 1865, that's still a little over 100 years, but it's not at 200, so it should be good. And he pulls the piece out, and he explains that he essentially puts that in there to mess with part of his brain so he can't remember everything, because, that much of information would make him go, he says he'd go off the rails, make him a little crazy. Why that is, we don't know. He has like this really sick part when he does it, and his hair is like all spiked back. He's got that really vicious, like wild man look to him. He's got a big knife. He just slashing these dudes open, blazing through them, and just mutilating the hell out of them. Honestly, I swear, since Chainsaw Man came out last year, end of 2018, really fiscal year 2019. Since then, like, Shonen Jump has gotten a lot more vicious with what they've been doing. Like, I can see some of it, like, coming back with Jujutsu Kaisen getting a little bit more brutal, but Chainsaw Man, like, really opened the way for some of these really weird shonens to start to kind of, come in and really, push boundaries in other series as well. But here we have Andy, and he's pretty much saying how he's happy he tested all this, and all this kind of led up to what they're doing. But now this bad guy, he's got the blade up to Izumo's neck, and he's like saying, hand over your head, or I'm just gonna kill her. And he seems grateful to her. He doesn't seem like some just like straight douchebag guy. He's like, no, I mean, yeah, if you're gonna threaten me over this girl, then I'm gonna come over there, but I'm gonna do it in style. Because he says at the end of the chapter that his goal is to have a really good stylish death. He wants to go out cool, and that's why here he's, when it comes to, well, I guess I have no choice, but I'm gonna do it pretty sick. Cuts off his head and pretty much hacky sacks him over to the guy. And at the same time, you have Izumo, who is just saved by Andy in a way. But really, when you think about a lot of this chapter, she was the one that ended up saving them, because it was her power that had the lightning bolt come down, and then it was her power here that ended up pretty much really setting the stage for what was to come, because she thinks that, like, it's not just contact with her power, but it also has to do with the emotion put into it. So she ends up, like, kissing Andy on the cheek, and once the head lands in this bad guy's hand, she's like, all right, fuck this, I'm out. He ends up getting back, as Andy, forms back. He ends up grabbing onto this bad guy, and Izumo just books it out of there. And I'm just like, if 15 minutes of just cutting her hair is, equals up to a lightning bolt, what would a kiss on the cheek do? And then you just see in the background, she's running a fucking meteorite coming out of the sky. And I love the fact that Andy's like, this is awesome. A meteorite is gonna come down. I've never experienced this before. And then just slam, you get a massive crater, and he's just up. And also hilariously enough, for one, the fact the sword is somehow alive, but the fact that you see on the cover, well, not the cover, you see in that big opening spread, he's got a sword, and then the whole time I was like, where's this sword at? But the sword it looks like he's going to be using is from the bad guy that got killed in the first chapter. And then at the end, just a really nice interaction between the two of them. She seems very happy. I think it's not just grateful. I think she's just so happy that she's found somebody that she can get close to, somebody that she's able to make a friend with, and is able to, emulate, interact with, without the worry that is going to lead them to death. But at the same time, somebody who looks to her without that fear. It's really nice. I think they have a really good synergy between the two of them. So now it's going to be, as it says in the last panel, the quest for the greatest death ever. So it's got such a really fun kind of tone to it, and I've seen characters that their goals are want to die before, kind of like Zeref from Fairy Tail, Orataro from the series Orataro, Kaido from One Piece. But I really like that, in contrast to those, like Zeref just wanted to end his suffering, Orataro just he hated living so long, Kaido seems to kind of want to just die too. Then you have Andy, who's just like, I want to die really fucking cool. And somebody like who's like me and immortal, it's gotta be something extreme. I've died a lot, so I gotta find a sick one. He was stoked the fact that he was gonna get hit by a meteor and maybe die, but just the experience was what he wanted. So check this series out if you haven't. It's so weird, so much fun, and I'm gonna look into the mangaka after this and see what else they've done besides this one. If they've done a one-shot maybe I've seen before, or maybe a different series I've heard of. I don't know. I'm gonna go look them up as soon as I finish recording this. So comment below. Tell me your thoughts are about this series. Tell me if you're interested in this. I'm really hoping the series does well, because this is very fun right off the bat. Two really fun characters, a really cool premise, and even the comedy. The comedy in the first one was really good, while at the same time had a really good synergy between the two characters. I enjoy both of them from the get-go, and at the same time, both of them are really useful from the start. You didn't have Izumo be like oh, she's weak and helpless. She has her own strengths, and obviously she hasn't learned how to control her powers yet. She doesn't know how to use it combatively yet. But she was still very beneficial, and Andy wasn't able to, wasn't going to win this without her. Well, at the same time, even though he was able to come out, he was willing to sacrifice herself for her, which, a low-key heroic. He's gonna, I feel like he's gonna be like what I would call a soft villain, or I guess maybe just an anti-hero. Maybe we could just go with anti-hero with him. I think anti-hero actually fits more because he definitely seems to be going down that route. Just dude's vicious. Anyway, comment below. Tell me your thoughts about this series and your thoughts about the first chapter. And I really appreciate thumbs up the video, but from the like button and subscribe button, and check out my other videos. And I appreciate everyone who's already subscribed. And I thank you all for listening. Bye.